The doors to the courtroom creaked open, and a thick silence fell over the room. All eyes landed on Kody Robyn, who fidgeted with his suit in nervous hands, his strained smile unable to conceal the tempest raging behind his eyes. Next to him stood Robyn, holding a tissue, her face white, her body shaking as if she already knew the verdict. Christine sat upright, unflinching, her eyes piercing and inflexible, as if this was the moment she had been waiting for all this time. And then the voice of the judge rang out through the room, calling the witness that no one had anticipated, someone who had known Kody's secrets better than all the wives ever had. The anticipation was palpable enough to strangle on, and the mood had changed from subdued tension to unadulterated electricity the instant he came forward. The presence of this man was so loaded with betrayal that he seemed to bring with him the weight of a secret that would annihilate the meticulously built facade of the family forever. It wasn't another piece of witness testimony. It was the fuel that could light the entire thing on fire, and they all knew it in their deepest selves. If you think you know Sister Wives' truth, stick with me, because what is about to come out will leave you second-guessing everything you believed you knew about Kody Robyn. And before we begin, ask me in the comments, do you think Kody was concealing more than the cameras ever revealed? The courtroom atmosphere is charged, heavy with expectation. Sunlight cuts through the high windows, making long shadows across the polished wooden floors. All of the faces in the room are strained, but none more than Kody's. His fingers drum on the table in front of him, the veins bulging like tight ropes underneath his skin. Robyn sits next to him, eyes cast down, holding a handkerchief as if it might protect her from what is about to happen. Over in the corner, Christine and Janelle sit side by side, hands clasped, eyes locked, unblinking, waiting. The whispers of the gallery fade as the bailiff calls the witness. Mindy Jessop enters the courtroom. Her entrance is unobtrusive but powerful. She walks with stealthy intention, her gray business suit simple but professional, hair pulled back neatly, calmness in her eyes that belies a strength built up over years of watching, listening and unobtrusively gathering truths that no one else was brave enough to tackle. As she reaches the stand, the room appears to take a collective deep breath. The judge indicates assent for the trial to start, and the first words drop from Mindy's lips, controlled and articulate. She explains her position in the Brown household, years of being a nanny, a helper and a confidant who observed the hours the cameras did not capture. She describes late nights with economic talks whispered behind closed doors, tension that radiated within the home like an unheard current. Chirama, Christine and Janelle's attorney, engages Mindy with precision, determining her credibility and extensive knowledge of the Brown family's inner dynamics. Each response Mindy provides is deliberated, composed, but heavy with unspoken significance. She speaks of watching Kody move money into private accounts, the discrepancies upon which Christine and Janelle would eventually build their case. The room hangs on her words, as she describes a man methodically juggling his family's finances, while outwardly presenting himself as a man struggling. Would you live in a house where the truth and the facade of money are so precisely divided that even people closest to you don't have a clue? Mindy's testimony brings the courtroom from money drama to the heart of the family's emotional lives. She remembers overheard words in the open-plan living and kitchen area. Kody's furious voice complaining at demands from his other wives, Robyn's calm tone that had deception buried beneath caring. They were plotting, planning, rationalizing and controlling all parts of the lives they professed to share with their families. The testimony subtly changes, the emphasis now on Robyn's involvement. She is no longer the anguished, tearful wife begging for compassion. She is a co-conspirator, cajoling, supporting, influencing Kody's choices in ways that stretch control beyond what most audience members could have conceived. Each nod, each whispered encouragement chronicled by Mindy creates an image of strategic collusion and fraud. Courtroom drama increases with each revelation. The room shifts uncomfortably, murmurs spread, yet all are frozen in the gravity of the disclosures. Mindy outlines her pay, the direct deposits from K&R Holdings, the chasm between what the other wives were informed and what was in fact being concealed. Kody and Robyn's expressions reveal spasms of panic, hardly concealed, but Christine and Janelle sit intent, nearly calm in their confirmation that reality is at last emerging. What would you do if the individual closest to you was planning a double life behind your back, taking your sacrifices and living large while manipulating your every step? The day goes on with Mindy's step-by-step detailing of strategic manipulations. She tells how Kody's phone would go dark after fights with the other wives, how Robyn reinforced scripts of obedience, loyalty and family protection in order to keep up appearances. These were not spontaneous instances, they were conscious, willful actions aimed at isolating, controlling, and bending reality for Christine and Janelle, while building herself and Kody up. The session closes as the tension reaches a crescendo. The jury is silent, the gallery stunned, every word from Mindy has chipped away at the image of the Brown family carefully curated for television. Kody fidgets nervously, Robyn wipes away real or performative tears, and the room waits, knowing that this is just the opening act of a story that will unravel even further. If you think you've witnessed the worst of this family's secrets, wait and see, because what we're about to witness will take everything you thought you knew and drive it to the brink. The courtroom is a hive of tense quiet, interrupted only by the rustle of papers and the occasional cough. Kody sits back in his chair, jaw clenched, eyes darting round the room as if seeking a lifeline which does not exist. Christine moves forward, tapping the fingers of her hands against her notebook, her thoughts storming back through years of repressed rage and unexpressed reality. Janelle's hand goes out to take hers, a stillness of support between them, a promise in silence that they will not be gaslighted anymore. The next witness to stand is a financial analyst who spent months studying the Brown family books. The room is charged with electricity. All eyes in the room are riveted on him as he prepares charts, spreadsheets and graphs that expose the financial inconsistencies Mindy alluded to. Each of the numbers speaks volumes. Huge transfers to unlisted accounts, mysterious expenses and diverted funds in methods that take even the most experienced court watchers by surprise. Can anyone imagine that a person could lead a lie so flawlessly, reconciling appearance and falsehood with such precise attention? The analyst meticulously dismantles transactions, illustrating how some accounts were drained and how others were purposefully kept in the dark. Robyn fidgets uncomfortably, not meeting the eye, as Kody's fingers tap against the table with an anxious beat. The courtroom sits in awe as evidence piles up, each development excavating deeper into the tissue of family treachery. The tension rises when the lawyer for Christine and Janelle produces text messages, exclusive messages Kody had sent over the years, strategically selected to keep him in control. One of them has him scolding Christine for asking about money, another with him applauding Robyn for staying loyal. The jury leans in, mesmerized by the intense, unbridled exposure of manipulation. How far would you go in order to keep control, even over the people you love most? The emotional undertow intensifies. Christine's voice shakes as she describes times when she felt cheated, but never quite could find out. Flashbacks assault her mind: dinner with the family, hushed phone calls, Robyn's biting advice masquerading as worry. Each memory, now accompanied by the proof in front of her, slams like a tidal wave. Janelle, fighting back tears, describes her own devastation, the loneliness, the insidious undermining, and the careful gaslighting that made her doubt her own judgment. The jury sits silently as Kody fidgets in his seat, his control wavering. Robyn mutters something to herself, her eyes shifting uncomfortably, and Christine's gaze never wavers from her husband, the man she once trusted absolutely. The courtroom is small, claustrophobic, and all the words, the looks, the movements, are gigantic with the burden of the truth. The tension mounts when the lawyer introduces a new piece of evidence, a recording of a family meeting, off-record and unreleased. The room leans in as Kody's voice rings through the court, laying out plans and excuses, spilling out intentions he had believed were secret. Robyn's hand shoots to her mouth, stifling a gasp as Christine and Janelle share a look of righteous anger. Would you sit back and let your world disintegrate, or would you fight with all that you are? The session ends with the judge calling a brief recess, tension radiating even in the corridors leading out of the courtroom. Journalists whisper, recording every little twitch, every flash of feeling on the faces of the family members. The audience is left in suspense, aware that what follows will not only reveal more secrets, it will unravel relationships, affiliations, and long-believed delusions. And just as you think that the truth has finally come out, the next surprise will have you wondering everything you've ever known about loyalty, love, and betrayal. The courtroom adjourns, and an oppressive silence descends upon the room, heavy with expectation. All seats are occupied, all eyes fixed on the Brown family as the next installment of their drama is played out. Kody sits tense, his features a mask of learned calm, but the shake of his hands gives him away. Christine's jaw is clenched, her eyes keen, as if prepared to strip away every facade that has been so delicately constructed by her husband over the years. Janelle sits next to her, back rigid, preparing herself for the emotional maelstrom to come. The next witness is summoned, a one-time intimate family friend, someone who once believed in Kody blindly. The second they step onto the stand, the tension changes, a hushed tremble fills the room. Their testimony starts quietly, half apologetically, speaking of years of secret talks, insidious manipulations, and times when Kody's sweet demeanor concealed an entrenched habit of control. Every sentence hits like a sledgehammer on the courtroom walls, rocking the very foundation of what everyone believed they had known. Could someone you love most really hide a side so dark, yet make it feel so normal for years? As the friend remembers intimate moments, the courtroom seems smaller, more claustrophobic. Robyn shifts uncomfortably, attempting to look calm, but her eyes show concern and fear. Christine's voice, firm but cool, slices through the room as she interrogates the witness, demanding clarity on all points. Janelle sits silently, her head replaying pieces of her own moments, the small betrayals she had written off as misunderstandings now coalescing into indisputable fact. Suspense mounts as the lawyer plays a series of voice recordings, bits of intimate family conversations, exposing hypocrisy, partiality, and calculated manipulation. The room leans in as one, their breathing stopped, as Kody's voice rings with a chilling nonchalance. Robyn nibbles her lip, looking at him with shock and terror in her eyes, while Christine's face sets in determination, fueled by years of pent-up rage. Have you ever realized that the person you trusted most might have been scripting your pain all along? The deposition turns melancholy, as the confidant's composure crumbles, tears running down her face as she speaks of moments of hurt and betrayal. She speaks of nights spent wondering at the concept of loyalty, days spent observing the silent shattering of families, and the weight of knowing that the truth would destroy relationships irrevocably. Christine reaches out, embracing Janelle's hand, creating an unspoken moment of affirmation that is unseen by anyone else. Next comes the bombshell, testimony of Kody's secret meetings with outside consultants, unilateral decisions taken without informing the other wives, funds transferred in secrecy, and promises broken that were at the core of trust. The courtroom gasps, the media writes furiously, and Kody finally appears cornered, his demeanor starting to fray under the constant exposure. If the foundation of your family is shaken by secrets and lies, could you ever trust the pieces that remain? The session culminates in a crescendo as tensions between the wives escalate to an emotional breaking point. Christine confronts Kody directly, her quivering voice laced with anguished rage, as Janelle chimes in, tears running down her face, revealing the extent of emotional manipulation suffered over the years. Robyn grapples inwardly, caught between loyalty and fear, her own silence telling volumes. As the judge announces a recess, the room is heavy with expectation and unresolved tension. There is an understanding that the subsequent revelations will not only bring to light secrets hidden from view, but confront each member of the family with the uncomfortable truth of just how much has been lost to trickery, manipulation, and deceit. And just when you think the storm has passed, the next surprise will knock harder, dragging all of them deeper into a maze of falsehoods and emotional chaos. The courtroom returns after the charged recess, and tension is heavy in the air with unspoken queries. All eyes are on Kody, who now appears smaller in some way, his meticulously guarded facade of control wavering under the pressure of evidence. Christine sits up straight, her face a blend of determination and seething anger. Robyn holds a crumpled tissue between her fingers, knuckles locked, while Janelle's eyes dart between the two, unspoken turmoil of fear and expectation churning beneath. Another witness is summoned, someone very close to the family's financial transaction. Their evidence is precise, almost surgical, outlining irregular dealings, unexplained payments, and secret accounts. Every disclosure hits like a hammer, ringing out in the still courtroom. The wives look at each other, shock and vindication written across their faces, as the extent of duplicity unfolds. When the people you trusted with your entire world betray you in the most subtle of manners, how do you even start to make sense of it? The witness holds up documents, meticulously marked and cross-referenced, detailing patterns of favoritism, money withheld, and secretive rulings that impacted everyone but Kody. The room responds as one murmurs, spread through the crowd, pens scratch hard in the press corps, and even the judge inclines forward, brow furrowed in intense interest. Christine's hand shakes a little as she grabs her water, her jaw clenched in determination. Robyn's eyes overflow, silently recognizing that the layers of lies are more awful than she had anticipated. As the interrogation gains momentum, the emotional high is raised. Christine's voice, sharp and unflinching, confronts Kody squarely, pressing for explanations of choices long affecting the stability of the family. Janelle interrupts her, her voice trembling with a combination of hurt and rage, corroborating personal experiences that lay bare the extent of the emotional neglect and favoritism. Every testimony erodes Kody's defense, leaving him more and more standing alone under the naked glare. Can the secret decisions of one person ruin the love and trust of an entire family within a few years? Abruptly, the court is shown video testimony, off-the-record home videos of confrontations, silent arguments, and tension-filled moments never intended for public eyes. The images take in the play of facial muscles, the subtle changes in inflection, and the unwritten words that speak volumes of years of tension. Christine's eyes flash hurt and clarity as she sees Kody's responses, while Robyn shields her face for a moment, not able to handle the collision of memory and betrayal. The testimony builds to its crescendo as the financial analyst delivers a stark analysis, aggregated losses, disparities and concealed manipulations which have undermined the family's confidence and assets. The courtroom is near intolerable with tension. The supposedly unbreakable veneer of Kody is now shattered. If the truth comes out in ways you never imagined, can forgiveness ever be an option, or is some hurt irreparable? As the session approaches its final moments, the wives confer hastily, their eyes communicating more than any words ever could. The judge requests a quick recess, announcing that the most devastating disclosures are yet to come. Tension hangs in the air, and all know that the next few minutes will either drive the family further apart or finally compel some recognition of the decades of lying. And just when you thought the worst was revealed, an even greater betrayal is going to come to light, with everyone wondering who they can actually trust. The courtroom is hushed as the next witness enters the stand, a one-time friend to Kody, one who had been privy to personal issues and family secrets. The atmosphere is heavy, almost claustrophobic, as they start to share conversations, intimate moments and choices taken behind doors. Each sentence sounds laden with purpose, each disclosure hitting like a thunderbolt, highlighting the fissures in the well-guarded family front. Christine leans forward, brow furrowed, her lips tightly compressed as she listens. There is a clash of anger and vindication in her face, but also a shadow of sadness, recollections of trust broken too recently vivid to be dismissed. Robyn's hands are firmly interlaced on her lap, her nails biting into her palms, a quiet struggle to keep herself together as each detail is revealed. Janelle squirms in her chair, her tapping foot a visible reflection of inner stress as the witness goes on, explaining clandestine meetings, hushed commands and manipulations which escaped everyone's notice except hers. If the person you love has become a stranger concealing themselves in plain sight, How do you bring the person you love together with the reality you're confronted with? The witness turns, producing a stream of letters and messages shared clandestinely. With each letter, the intentions are disclosed that contradict the public image Kody had so long cultivated. The courtroom leans in together, captivated by the ferocity and emotion of these messages. Kody's hands shake slightly as he tries to pick up his glass of water, his eyes flicking between the papers and the judge, hoping to imagine the effect of each revelation. The mood changes drastically when emotional testimony is wedded to hard, unyielding facts. Robyn breaks her silence, her voice cracking but firm, describing moments in which she had felt unheard, unseen, and manipulated. Christine's voice is more jagged now, with an accusatory tone, revealing years of favored treatment and selective truths that have governed family dynamics. Even the judge, severe and unemotional, exhibits signs of tension, visibly moved by the burden of cumulative testimony. Can the psychological wounds inflicted by betrayal ever fully heal, or do they reside, silently informing every encounter? A shocking turn of events, a fresh piece of evidence surfaces, a recording of an intimate conversation in which Kody's words conflict with testimony he had previously given under oath. Gasps circulate through the courtroom. The wives look on in horror, understanding that the extent of the lies is greater than they had envisioned. Christine's eyes are narrowed, anger and purpose driving her intensity, as Janelle's hand shakes while she grabs to hold herself steady. Robyn clamps her lips, stifling a cry as the room becomes heavy with this understanding. The stakes grow higher as the tape plays, each word torn apart by the lawyers and judge. The courtroom is a war of truth and deception, each player pushed to deal with what they've avoided, explained away, or wished would never come out. The psychological tension is almost palpable, and the audience watching perceives it in every hesitation, every breathing pause, every slight change in facial expression. When betrayal is revealed in the most straightforward possible language, can denial hold out, or must truth at last assert itself? As the proceedings of the day move toward a conclusion, Kody's defense starts to unravel, revealing cracks previously obscured. The wives gather together for a moment, sharing glances that speak 1,000 words left unvoiced, pain, shock, and an acute sense of understanding. The judge announces a recess, leaving all present in the courtroom, and all who are watching to struggle with the deep insights that have been revealed. And just when it appears the darkest secrets have been revealed, a more profound shockwave is waiting in the wings, poised to topple everything yet again. The courtroom convenes again, and the tension is almost palpable. The air is electric, as if with each breath anticipation crackles. Kody sits tensely, a mask of controlled fear on his face, but his eyes reveal the tempest within. The wives Christine, Robyn, Janelle, and Mary are seated delicately, each of them taking in the gravity of the drama unfolding before them, steeling herself for revelations that might crack the fragile peace they've sustained. The second witness testifies, a member of Kody's inner circle, who has never given a public statement before. The courtroom is filled with whispers, as the individual starts to share private conversations, concealed agendas, and moments which expose the reality behind power dynamics in the family. Each sentence is heavy with tension, unveiling the fragile threads of trust which have kept this family intact for years. Christine leans in, her eyes glinting as she hears everything, each sentence cutting like a knife. Robyn's hand shakes slightly, her jaw locked as the emotional burden strains to break through. Janelle sits quietly, but her fingers are clenched tightly in her lap, revealing a tempest of feelings she is at war to suppress. When those that are closest to you do confess secrets, how do you meet the truth without getting lost utterly? The witness starts to reveal a pattern of secret alliances and manipulation, pointing out scenes where Kody's actions were in direct conflict with what he had claimed outside the house. The wives' responses are instant. Christine's lips purse, Robyn swallows, and Janelle blinks furiously, attempting to keep up with each bombshell. The courtroom is charged, even the judge appears briefly discomfited as the magnitude of the deception becomes impossible to deny. And then, after all that build-up, suddenly a sensational piece of evidence, a chain of messages, pictures, and audio that leave no question about it. Kody fidgets in his seat, a drop of sweat appearing on his forehead as the seriousness of the situation is realized. Every photo, every word is analyzed by the lawyers, placing degrees of emotional pressure on the already charged room. What happens when the foundation of your family is rocked to its very core, and the most feared truths are unveiled for the whole world to witness? Robyn breaks into a measured sob, her voice shaking as she shares stories of heartbreak and betrayal that were once intimate. Christine rises, her words biting and unyielding, as she confronts Kody with proof of manipulation and lying. The judge's gavel comes down with force, demanding calm, but the emotional undertow continues to churn, sweeping all of them along in its wake. And then there's a dramatic turn. A lawyer uncovers a clandestine contract that had been kept from the wives for years, one which alters the dynamics of trust, loyalty, and power in the family. Gasps resound in the courtroom. Eyes widen in horror. The wives share glances of shock and outrage, grasping the betrayal goes even deeper than they could possibly have envisioned. When the secrets unravel, and all the concealed motivations are revealed, can reconciliation ever be achieved? Or is this the point where it all comes apart? As the session comes to an end, the tension is still at its highest point. Kody sits in silence, the crushing weight of weighed-down discoveries bearing down on him. The wives, solid as a unit in mutual surprise and grief, steel themselves for whatever's ahead of them, aware that the most emotional and revealing parts are still to come. And just when you think the storm has passed, an even more shocking revelation is about to turn everything upside down, leaving the family and everyone watching reeling. The courtroom is hushed, the air thick with anticipation, as the final pieces of this emotional puzzle are about to fall into place. Kody sits rigid, the weight of the past weeks pressing on him, each revelation having stripped away layers of composure he once wore like armor. The wives are tense, their faces reflecting a mixture of disbelief, sorrow, and a burning need for truth. Christine's eyes flash with defiance, Robyn's hands tremble slightly, Janelle's jaw tightens, and Mary's posture shifts as she braces herself for what comes next. The lawyers introduce the last witness, a person whose evidence has the potential to tip the balance on its head. The individual emerges with reserved determination, a file of papers in their hand. They start telling about incidents never revealed before, about intimate face-offs, business arrangements, and instances where bonds were strained in ways the family could have never imagined. Every word falls like a sledgehammer, ringing out through the courtroom, echoing in the minds of all who sit there. When the reality that you have been trying to avoid is finally revealed, how do you face it without losing yourself completely? The defense of Kody crumbles before irrefutable proof is presented. Emails, recordings, and pictures indicating patterns of dishonesty and favoritism. The wives look at each other, the emotional resonance between them in a shared understanding. These are the years of unspoken stress and secret betrayal. Christine's voice slices through the silence as she confronts Kody directly, calling for accountability, while Robyn's emotional appeal pierces the seriousness of the courtroom, reminding all the human price tagged on legal papers and public appearances. As the session progresses, the mood flows between introspective quiet and outbursts of intense emotion. The judge, the embodiment of objectivity, now appears to be tainted by the emotional tide sweeping through the room. The ultimate disclosures show not only betrayal, but also courage, and a glimmer of insight that can still redefine the broken family dynamics. Amidst the turmoil and tragedy, can there be forgiveness, or is this the time that everything becomes irremediable? The drama reaches its peak as Kody, confronted with irrefutable proof, and the combined scrutiny of his wives, finally has a say. His words are calculated, laced with regret, but they cannot erase the emotional wounds left behind. Christine answers with naked truthfulness, her voice unflinching, and Robyn, Janelle, and Mary, each their own combination of anger, disappointment, and residual hope. The courtroom holds its breath, transfixed by the fine line of tension, reconciliation, and confrontation. Just as it appears the tale has come to its climax, there is one last twist. A surprise witness from an outer circle but inner world of character, illuminating motives, secret alliances, and realities nobody had known. Gasps ring through the courtroom, Hearts pound and tension hangs in the air, as all are left wondering what they believed they knew. When all the secrets are laid bare, and all concealed motives are exposed, how do you proceed with this knowledge that the truth cannot be erased? As the session ends, the emotional storm starts to subside, but the effect remains. Kody and the wives exit the courthouse, their marriages forever changed, each with the burden of unveiled truths, betrayals faced, and feelings that can no longer be suppressed. For the audience, the story leaves lingering questions. What comes next for the family? Can trust be rebuilt? And, more importantly, how would you react if faced with the unraveling of everything you thought you knew? What would you do if your closest friends were secretly concealing the greatest secrets? Share your comments below, and tell us how far would you go for the sake of truth and justice in such a scenario. This wraps up the story arc, completely uniting tension, emotional resonance, and startling twists, keeping viewers invested from hook one to the ultimate reveal.